have the privilege of having a conversation this morning with Claudia Blanco from GE Vernova, Business Incubator Leader. Claudia, would you like to join me on stage and we can get started? Off to you. Fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about it's something that's quite topical, and that is how do we ensure energy security while simultaneously working towards meeting our decarbonisation goals. It's quite a tricky landscape. And Claudia, if we look at last winter, we had a surge in energy bills after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, disrupting gas supplies. You know, at the moment we have a war in the Middle East. We are still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, so it's really a tough landscape, and energy security is really at the top of the agenda. So my first question is a bit of a three-part question. What can we expect? What are we facing this winter? And do we have sufficient resilience? And if not, what needs to be done, perhaps from a policy perspective, to ensure that we do?
Excellent question. I think I will take some of the latest inputs that we are receiving from governments across Europe. Let's focus on Europe. We are here, right? So across Europe, governments are collaborating with the energy businesses, the energy operators, and they are talking about this winter as a risk that they want to take cautious risk, and they see a progress. They see a progress on the events that we experienced last winter, but they still considering that we have to put in place some preventive measurements. So they are collaborating together to make sure that we can prevent for blackouts, because we see an increase of the demand coming from renewable energy penetration, right? So we have solar panels more and more in the houses, right? We have electrical vehicles with the chargers that are as well consuming energy and everything at the same time. So winter is one of the moments where we see measurements like, for example, Netherlands is talking about putting again incentives, right, to the less consumption in peak hours, so 4 to 7 normally in the afternoon, and actually they want to incentivize again this. Or if we talk about UK, National Grid UK, they are looking into as well incentivize that consumption, but also they are going to have an increase of the power generation during this period, and so that they can prevent for these peaks, to prevent for blackouts.
And of course, if you think about it, we don't know what Mother Nature's plans are for this winter. So you can't be too prepared.
Never be enough prepared, right? Because there is also part of the education of power consumption, right? So how we use in the peak hours the energy, we see a progress there, but it's still not yet. I think if you saw the cities still in the night, no, the buildings light on, and now Christmas time with the lights, and so here governments are taking a lot of care of it, but also it's super important the collaboration and coordination of the energy producers and the energy systems across Europe, so that they can respond to the increase of demand and have a better balance and stability of the grid.
That makes sense. In terms of policy, is there more that can be done, or do you think that we're in a good place?
Policies, there are things that we still need high support. Policy is key. Policy, as well as assuring the power energy constantly, it's also key. And we have seen some measurements coming. I would like to mention the Critical Raw Material Act, for example, or where they are considering to incentivize to have a better and resilient supply chain, which is something that we are seeing one of the bottlenecks to have a resilient grid and a resilient power generation, right? So here, regulation can do a lot, also in terms of allowing flexibility or incentivize distribute generation on those peak peak hours, because the difficulty today is that we don't have, as in the past, a power plant that distributes from generation to the transmission lines to the distribution. It now is two ways of energy, and also not only that, it's the nature of the consumers is changing. They become prosumers. We have solar panels that we can sell energy, so we generate power as well. So this is creating a lot of instability in the grid and a lot of complexity to be able to achieve the challenges of the grid to compensate that. So this winter we are going to see some risk there, but the governments and the system operators are getting ready for that.
Complex ecosystem indeed. Claudia, if I can pivot slightly, if we look at the expected increase in electricity demand, we're expecting 50% increase over the next 2 decades. Obviously, as industries and transport decarbonizes and there's greater amounts of electrification, how do we meet the challenges that will be caused by the scale up? I mean, you touched a little bit now on policy, but there are other areas as well, perhaps in terms of skilled engineers or raw materials. Talk to us a little bit about that, if you will.
Yeah, good question. This is all related to, first, supply chain, reliable supply chain, and we talk about the Critical Raw Material Act. That is also the Net Zero Industrial Act. Both together, the intent is that by next year we can have some incentives and some laws that help us to actually be less dependent on importing material. We have critical material like, for example, steel. Steel is something that, if you think about that, 70% of a wind turbine is made of steel, and that we are going to explode. And my previous colleagues, they were talking about the explosion of renewables energy. We will need millions of tons of steel, and we don't have enough manufacturing capacity. So also raw material like rare earths, they are critical for superconductors, or especially steels like what the batteries of the electrical vehicle will need, right? So we have to transform also the manufacturing. So raw material is critical, manufacturing is also critical. Lead times for a power transformer or HVDC substation is years, minimum 5 years.
Wow.
So that's why we have to accelerate those skills, technical skills, and not only that, other functions like human resources, skills on human resources to hire those talents is another key element. And actually the digitalization of the supply chain. Digitalization is going to be the key enabler. There is more than 20 to 30% of investment is going to be dedicated to digitalization. And finally, but not less important, is we talk about policy, right? Regulation, harmonization of regulation, and also enabling some areas that today we cannot go for and accelerate the grid transformation that is going to be required.
I do want to touch on the skilled workforce a little bit more, but before I do, just a quick out of the blue question. As we are on this decarbonization mission, what do you think the role of hydrogen will be? It's a little bit controversial. I think some believe that maybe there's more of a role to play or less. What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to play a key role. It's one of the most abundant source, right? And we know now how to make fuels out of taking water and split it in hydrogen and oxygen. And it's going to be a key enabler to, for example, manufacturing plants. They have to decarbonize, and hydrogen is one of the key solutions. And for that also is interconnected with the wind and solar plus the battery storage, which will allow us to produce as well hydrogen and enable the decarbonization in many ways in the end-to-end supply chain, actually, but as well on the end-to-end of the grid, right, from power to power generation to transmission, distribution, and then consumers, right? So definitely, and actually in General Electric we are working hard and continuously to innovate and be able to offer in our power portfolio the hydrogen as a solution as well. One example, we did great things about the gas the gas, let's say, plants, we were able to convert them to use hydrogen. And we have now more than 120 gas plants with hydrogen across the world. So that's a huge move.
That is a huge move indeed. And, you talk about innovation and these new technologies that we're implementing and deploying. But of course, we need a skilled workforce in order to be able to achieve this. And as my final question, I'd like to find out from you, how do we ensure that we have this workforce? How do we encourage people to get involved in STEM careers? And perhaps even encouraging the girls to become more involved, in a quite a male-dominated sector.
Right. This is also an important question because one of the biggest bottlenecks we face is skill and diverse skills, because diverse challenge will require diverse brains, no? And actually, I think what I will say is that the STEAM careers are going to be key to enable the energy transition. We need them fast, and you cannot create those skills in months. You need years, right? So, but the key point here, and this is a message for us as leaders of companies and companies itself, is how to make our industry, our sectors more attractive. That's a key point. Because I think when you try to solve a problem, if you don't work on the right root cause, that's why we're not accelerating this piece. And we are innovating a lot in product, but we are not innovating in attracting talents. And here we need that. And let me give you an example. We are competing with Instagram as a job of the future. Everyone wants to be Instagram, the new generations, right? Because it's really attractive, right? But our industry is not attractive. It's perceived still as old-fashioned. And this is a big risk, because old-fashioned means we are not adapting ourselves fast enough to be attracting talent. What I will say to attract talents, I will give a recent story that happened to me. I was going to have, these amazing professional photographers that help you to upgrade your profile photo, and he said, well, how do you want to be perceived in the photo? I say, well, as an executive, as an entrepreneur, yeah. And he said, then you need to look tough and aggressive. And he put me in this pose like this that I think most of you yeah, had to do that.
Tough and aggressive.
Tough and aggressive. This is the image that this industry is giving to the new generation. I don't want to look like that. I want that if people see my picture in LinkedIn, they see, oh, I want to work with this person, with this leader, and also for this company that hire leaders like her. This is the picture I want to. So that's why we have to be like influencers. No, leadership. We have the privilege to be leading, and leadership means more than lead people. Is to give the example, because we impact careers, we impact even private life. And yeah, moving from these male attributes that I think is unfair, male attributes like be tough, be aggressive, aggressive language and things like that. Moving from that to other male attributes that are amazing. It's go for it, be brave, take actions, and combine it with the male attributes, with the female attributes, which are let's collectively converge, let's be creative, let's solve the problems together. And we need that. We need to innovate in the way we are perceived to attract. So attractiveness, I think, is the key, yeah, to have more talents and solve this problem.
Well said. And I think it's interesting because you actually take it back to the role of the leadership and the responsibility that leaders have in how they portray themselves as influencers. So I think that's very well said. And yes, indeed, it is down to the leadership. It's their responsibility.
Definitely.
Any concluding remarks before we finish up, Claudia?
I will say that we are facing, and it's not new for all of us that are here, right? It's important to realize the challenges that we have in front of us. We need to modernize our grid. We are not modernizing at the right speed because of those challenges that we mentioned previously, right? Bottlenecks are everywhere in the entire value chain and in every aspect. And we have to collaborate much more. We have to work really in a collaborative convergence approach more than to I solve this problem, because we will need all the capacity, manufacturing capacity everywhere, So it won't, I don't think it will be as competition as before because we don't have enough capacity. So let's change the mindset of, silos versus collaborative approach. I think it's an amazing challenge, and we are at the right place and at the right moment.
Well said. And it's something that's really been a recurring theme throughout Enlit, breaking down these silos and making sure that we really start talking to each other, because that's how we make it happen. It's been an absolute pleasure. Claudia, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.